Hmm? Ah!
You do know what to do. You can stop all this. Do it.
Can't.
Look at you. You gonna let her do this to you? Damn it! You're Cordelia Chase. Are you just gonna lie there like a weakling? Get off your ass and be tough.
I can't.
Show me the biggest pain I've ever seen. Do it now!
Rip us getting out of me!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Still Slaying, a Buffyverse podcast. I'm Penny.
I'm Becky.
And I'm Sam. For this episode, we're going to be discussing Angel, Season 1, Episode 5, Room with a View, written by David Greenwald and JW, and directed by Scott McGinnis.
This episode originally aired on November 2nd, 1999, to an audience of 3.2 million households.
Some alternative titles in other languages for this episode were Migration in Finnish, Ghost Story in Hungarian, and my favorite, The Ghost of Maud in Italian. I think that's an epic title.
Right.
That's great. Just give away all of the secrets, all the twists,
Yeah.
right in the title.
I love that. I love that they do that. They're like, we want no surprises ever.
Yeah.
So, as you can hear, we have Sam back with us today on the podcast, and Becky guesting again, who was with us for the Bring It On episode and did such a good job
Yes.
that we just were
very good
dying to have
job.
her come back and talk about some more Buffyverse stuff.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank
Becky has her own podcast called What's On Tonight, right?
Yes. We are currently
What are you guys covering right now?
The Pit, which is a medical
Oh,
drama
right.
on Max. And if you aren't watching it, it is truly incredible.
It's
I
really
highly
good.
recommend you check it out. And then
Mhm.
we are a no holds barred podcast. We will get political. We will share it all. So please give us a listen. We'd love to have y'all.
I love it. I feel like healthcare, unfortunately, is political. As someone who works in a hospital right now, it's like, yeah, it especially in America, it's political. It shouldn't
Yeah,
be.
it's hard
but
to
it
avoid the politics of
definitely
care.
is.
And they do a great job with the real world stories that are happening
Yeah,
in the country right now, and doing it in a way
absolutely.
that's not an after school special, but very honest and raw and real. So it
Absolutely.
surprised me how incredible it really is.
Plus,
Yeah.
Noah Wiley back in a hospital. Everybody who loved him
Love
on
it.
ER is
Yeah.
gonna love him in
Same.
this.
Yeah.
I've
I'm a big
started
Noah
rewatching
Wiley
the old
fan.
episodes. Yeah, I
Well,
started
y'all
should check
rewatching
it
the old
out.
episodes.
I
Yeah.
loved what was that sci-fi show that he did? It was 5 seasons.
The
Um,
fall?
it-
No.
No.
Falling
Alien
Skies.
Invasion. Falling Skies.
Yes.
Right,
Yep.
Falling Skies.
No,
I thought that
it
was really inventive and that he was
Yes.
a great sort of like insurgency leader. that
Yes, very
show.
much so. Yeah, I've been inspired by the Pit because I second that. I'm a huge fan of it on Max. I think it's so well done, and yeah, it's phenomenal. I will say, having starting to rewatch old episodes of ER, those don't age well. Noah Wiley aged well.
Oh my
Not that
goodness,
show.
ever. Goodness.
Yeah, he looks better than he did when he was 22. Yeah. He looks
Yes.
amazing these days.
Yes, very much so.
All right, enough current events. Let's talk first about what from the episode was our favorite, like, so late 90s item.
Payphone.
Oh,
Yeah, payphones.
yeah,
Payphones always entertain me. Payphones are hilarious.
big one.
I kind of miss them. I miss the anonymity. Like every phone call I make on a smartphone, there's a record and there's a database, and for all I know, recordings of all my conversations. Like
Yeah.
I miss having a world where we weren't so recorded all the time.
Yeah. And having to go to the police station to look up the history of a building and murder. As
Yeah.
we see in Supernatural, just a few years later, they're able to use the internet a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, where are we going? Oh, like I forgot that that's how this used to be. Oh, and speaking of which, getting apartment hunting without a credit score being actively checked out or
Oh,
references
yeah.
called, which might have just been an in-show thing, thanks to Doyle, but I was very much surprised by how that was going.
Or
With the
looking in the
paper.
paper.
Yeah. I mean, the title
That's
of
right.
the episode, RM, with W/A
Yes.
VU, is a
Yes.
play on the fact that, like, back then there were classified ads in the paper and you paid by the letter.
Mm-hmm.
So people who put an ad
Oh
up
my
for an
gosh.
apartment being available would do anything they could to save characters. So they
Ah.
abbreviated everything. And so sometimes these classified ads would look like gobbledygook. It would just be like, if you couldn't figure out what the abbreviation was, you'd be like, what's a WW? Why is it that means it has a washer. Why is that 2 W's? That's what it means. Okay. Like, uh,
Like how it's written in like broke code.
yeah,
like people are like, I need to save money, so I'll just
yeah,
make it a puzzle for people to guess. That's the first
exactly.
hurdle to seeing the apartment or the house.
It's crazy. So crazy. I
That's
loved
so interesting.
the answering machine getting the call and being able to hear the recording. I miss that. There are
Yeah.
times when I get a call and I don't pick it up. It goes to voicemail and then I have to wait for my voicemail to like process it so that I can
Yeah.
read the transcript because I don't listen to the voicemail. I read the
That was
transcript.
something. When was the last time you listened to a voicemail?
Every now and then I have to because the transcript is like an incomprehensible nonsense. I'm like, if my friend has like a little bit of an accent or like it seems to be doctors' offices always have someone who leaves the voicemail as fast as they possibly can. So it just is like in the transcript, and I have to listen to it to be like, is my appointment still happening? What's going on?
I know. I feel like at one point, if we start to read these messages out loud, we're going to be conjuring a demon ourselves. Like, just wait.
Humor.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I'm like, if only for the way they say my last name, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
if I read this out
Your
loud,
last name isn't
Beelzebub.
Your last name is one of those ones that's not actually hard to pronounce, but I imagine when people look at it, they're like, "Whoa, that's a lot of letters."
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. If it's not a Connors or a Smith, it's like
Yeah.
they put in extra letters, and it
Oh
really
yeah.
just pronounce it like as it's written. It's my ancestors that came over here. That's not even our original name. We changed it at Ellis Island, and like they did make it like to be the easiest it can be.
Yeah. It's phonetic.
So,
Uh Becky, as our guest of honor, where would you like to start attacking this episode?
I want to talk about the development, and we can, as we go through the episode, talk about how it unfolds. But my favorite thing about this episode was the development of Cordelia, her character, and how we learn how much she's suffering from not being the same person that she was back in high school. And I think a lot of us, you have an identity in high school, good or bad, indifferent, whatever. And that was her identity, was the money and the popularity. And now she doesn't have that. And she's lost. And I just thought, watching her towards the end of the episode, basically, I love to quote Ricky Bobby. If y'all watch Talladega Nights, she got
I
her
love
balls
that
back.
movie. Yeah.
So that was my favorite part of this episode, was watching her do that. But the best scenes, I think, were her and Angel when she busted in
Oh,
his
into his
apartment.
apartment?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
that
was
was
so everything about
amazing.
that was hilarious. First of all, thank you, Angel, for the topless David Boreanaz wet from the shower.
Oh,
I'm
beautiful.
not gonna
Love it.
complain about that ever.
Not one bit.
Love it.
Beautiful man,
No,
looking beautiful.
appreciate.
Cordelia being like, "You're gonna want to get my suitcase from the hallway," and him actually doing it killed me. Like, she may not be rich anymore, but she has not lost the idea that other people exist to serve her.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's charming. I can't
yeah.
really put my finger on it, but it's charming.
There's something about her delivery, and this is Charisma Carpenter, because that
Yes.
same role with a different actor would be like, we would hate her. But
Oh,
she
absolutely.
somehow makes it like you just can't help but like her.
Yeah, like, cool. I'll help you in. Like, I when she was doing that, I'm like, because I have a developing attachment to Cordelia
Mhm.
as an adult now, watching Buffy and Buffy and Angel, and being like, oh, I kind of act like that, but not all. Like, I'm not like that, where I'm like, grab my stuff, and I'm like watching the scene going, maybe I should be more like Cordelia. I would never, though. I'd start sweating. There's no way I could do that.
We
I'd
can
be like,
all learn
please.
from her over the course of watching the series Angel. She's going to go through a lot of change, and I think that what she learns in this episode is that the quality of being a bitch and owning that is not something that was dependent on money. That's something that is core to who she is. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not unlike the end of season 2 when Buffy and Angel are fighting and he's all like, no friends, no weapons, what do you have left? And Buffy says, me. And this was that moment for Cordelia where she's like, I don't need money. I'm a bitch on my own. It's who I am. Like, and she owns it. And it's something that I have done a lot in my life as well. Like, I have sort of famously said in college one time, I have no need for men to like me, only fear me. And it was a joke, but it was not 100% a joke, because I saw early on in the world that, like, trying to get men to like you often meant giving up on yourself in some kind of little way. And
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I just decided I was okay with being disliked if it was for something I truly believed in.
Mhm.
And it has served me well in life. I'm sure that there are people that don't like me because I said what I thought, and I'm okay with them not liking me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and it really came in handy when I was a lawyer, because the number of times you have to say something to someone that they don't like is a lot,
Tell me.
right? Like,
I
all
can
the
only
time, you
imagine.
can't do that. That's illegal. If you do that, you're going to get fired. Like, these are things I've had to say to people over and over and over
Yep.
again,
I
and
think
they
we
don't
need
like
more
it.
of those lawyers.
Yeah. And I've
Yeah.
had people go to my boss and be like, Penny was kind of mean when she told me that the thing I want to do is illegal. And my boss was like, yeah, okay.
Because it's
I mean,
illegal.
what are you supposed to say to
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's like,
Okay.
guess
All
what?
right.
Prison's more mean. So,
Yeah.
like, like,
Yeah. Like,
if you have a problem with meanness, you're not gonna like jail. Yeah,
yeah,
and
seriously, dude.
sort of have that too, where, and I think I've sort of forgotten that a bit, because most of the patients I serve are men, and I sort of forget, like, that sort of navigation of, yeah, there's a reason women are talked to a certain way where men are not, and it's not respect. It's because they wouldn't talk to a man that way because they fear them, and
Yeah.
maybe not like being punched, but they fear being pushed back on by another guy. They don't fear that from women in general,
Mm-mm.
and
And they
they
get real upset when it happens.
yeah, I have very much experienced that. Oddly enough, not from most of my patients.
Yeah.
from
I'm not
from
surprised
yeah,
that your patients respect you,
yeah.
because your directness and your honestness is always delivered, in my experience, with kindness.
Oh,
But I
thank
can
you.
see it being a real problem for people who are trying to get you to do what they wanted you to do. And you're like,
Yes.
no, I'm not doing that. And they're like, Sam's a bitch. I've
Exactly.
definitely been called a
Yep.
bitch
Same.
to my
100%.
face
And
so
oh,
many
yeah.
times.
Oh, yeah.
Like, don't
Yeah.
be
I'm
such a
just like,
bitch. And I'm like,
uh-huh.
bitches get
Doors.
done.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
And my
I am who I
response is, "Oh, I
am.
can be more of one. Do you want it?"
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you saying, Becky?
I was just saying, yeah, I am who I am.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
It's this weird sort of like notion in there, and yeah, they, even if they don't agree with me, there's not really a big problem there, because I also focus on empowerment. And it's never like to just be mean, it's just boundary setting, and kind of like
Yeah.
how you were
There's a
doing, Penny, like just
there's a
setting
big difference.
the table. Yeah, yeah, it is more people who expected me to cater to their feelings and actually don't want to have a full conversation about it, and definitely when I know more about something than they do.
Oh, yeah.
That's that, and I say, like, that's not really how this works, and there's a reaction. I definitely resonated with the angry ghost mom in
Mm.
this episode. Wow, I was like, oh, that feels familiar. Like, just sort of not like just personally, but like more of like, I noticed how dark that sounded, and I was
It
Yeah.
like,
really did.
I'm
I was
like,
like,
the one
oh, we need to talk.
who bricked her son into a wall. Like,
oh,
I don't know
believe
if I
me.
want to be alone with you if you identify with her.
Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, I misspoke. I misspoke. This happens all the time. No, no, no. Her having people like that in my life.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no, no. God, no, 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 no.
Whew.
She is opposite of who I would ever be as a person. Um, like, no, no, no. Yeah, I should have made that more clear. No, no, no. People, I've had those kinds of people react to me that way, with me
Yeah.
just sitting in my transparency and my own 2 cents, of like, that is how they are approaching that situation. And oh, I bet if it was like the purge and they could get away with putting me behind bricks in a wall, oh, there's some that I definitely trigger that would love to do that. But it
Yeah.
wouldn't fix anything, as we see with Angry Ghost Mom. That doesn't actually
Yeah,
fix
I do
anything.
want to give a shout out to the actor who plays Angry Ghost Mom, also known as
Yeah.
Maud Pearson.
Oh.
She's played by Beth Grant, and
Yeah.
I love Beth Grant. I've seen her in a bunch of things, but my favorite thing that she's been in was the Mindy Project, where she played this
Oh.
like unhinged
Oh,
nurse who works at Mindy's medical
she's
practice.
amazing.
And she was so
Yeah.
funny in that show without fail, just like hilarious line deliveries, great comedic timing. She has such a
Yeah.
unique look too. She's so great on screen. I just adore
Yeah.
She
her.
plays Carlotta Mayfield on The Mayfair Witches.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah?
That's where I
Oh,
seen
that's a
her
good
most
role
Oh,
for
it's
recently
her.
perfect. It's
from.
exactly crotchety old lady. It's the
Yeah.
exact same role. When I saw her, I was like, "Oh, hey, Carlotta."
Yeah. Gosh, she's so funny in this. She's amazing in this role as the ghost, and it she plays off Cordelia so well. It's it's just fantastic chemistry. I
Yeah.
so this episode got me thinking about bitches and the word bitch, and I found this fantastic article. It was written in the context of Benedict Cumberbatch went on the Ellen show, and they were talking about how his fans call themselves Cumber bitches. And he was like, I don't know
Yeah.
how I feel about it. Is that like anti-feminist? I don't know. And apparently
Okay,
the Cumber
sir.
bitches responded like, we just think it sounds fun and we're not trying to be anti-feminist, whatever. And anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
this writer, Amanda Montell, did this like short history of the word bitch. The word has had a long and colorful past in the human lexicon, beginning with its suspected origins in Sanskrit. Linguists postulate that bitch started there with the ancient word bagas, meaning genitals, and later found its way in various forms into Latin, French, and Old English, eventually coming to refer to a creature with exposed genitals, aka an animal. More specifically, thereafter, the word narrowed to female animal, and within a few centuries, landed on female dog. The first shift in meaning from beast to human was not recorded until around 1400 AD. According to researcher Charles A. Collins from Southern Illinois University, here's where bitch first surfaced in writing to describe a lewd, promiscuous woman, a prostitute. For me, this is where things stop making sense. How did we get from a delightful lady puppy to a woman who exchanges her vagina for money? Unfortunately, semantic nosedives like this are common. The process of a neutral word for a female taking on negative, often sexual meaning is a pattern found throughout language. The phenomenon is called pejoration. In 1975, a language and gender superstar named Muriel Schultz put it like this: again and again in the history of language, one finds that a perfectly innocent term designated a girl or woman may begin with totally neutral or even positive connotations, but that gradually it acquires negative implications, at first perhaps only slightly disparaging, but after a period of time becoming abusive and ending as a sexual slur. The word spinster comes to mind because, of course, that was originally meant to refer to a woman who was so good at spinning wool that she was financially independent. And now it has come
Yeah.
to mean like an old lady who's lonely and sad and lives with her cats. A stereotype I reject, by the way. I'm not sad about living with my cat.
Gosh, no, they're great roommates.
There are a gazillion examples of this. Take the word tart, for instance. Tart started out, of course, as the name of a dessert. Then, according to an 1864 Oxford English Dictionary definition, it morphed into an affectionate term for a pleasant or attractive woman, absolutely interchangeable with girl. Already here, we're associating women with inanimate, fruity dessert items. But what's worse is that in later decades, the word began to take on increasingly sluttier connotations. And even though it's not exactly the hippest slang term today, most of us recognize tart to mean a woman who dresses in a specific way to attract sexual attention from men. Muriel Schultz found that pejorative terms for women like this are created by men in response to a sort of sexual fear of women. These words are then approved by dictionary makers, who historically are male, further perpetuating the ideas behind them through writing, commentary, and ultimately the culture at large. In a paper amazingly titled Bitches and Skanky Hobags, The Place of Women in Contemporary Slang,
Ooh.
Laurel Sutton concludes that the vast landscape of language seems to be a male construct in which women are talked about and talked to, but do not themselves speak. In other words, women become defined by their relationship to men. This might sound extreme, so let's look at the numbers. In the late 80s and early 90s, two groups of graduate students at UCLA and UC Berkeley went into the field to compile a list of slang terms used to refer to women and another list for men. They simply eavesdropped on conversations overheard in public and recorded any relevant terms. Once the data was in front of them, they found that almost 90% of the slang terms they recorded for women described them either as objects, prostitutes, dumb, rude, or evil, as opposed to the slang terms for men, only 46% of which were at all negative, while some of these female terms we've heard many times, i.e. jailbait, slut, hoebag, some were particularly innovative. Hell pig is an example that sticks out, a domesticated animal and a devil, all in one.
Whoa.
Interestingly enough, however, the data presented just two slang words that women actually use among themselves as a term of affection. One of them was hoe, and is unfortunately something I have indeed said once or twice upon entering a room with my friends. And the other was, you guessed it, bitch. Obviously, the connotations of bitch have shifted since the year 1400 when it was used to describe a lewd, licentious woman. I don't know about you, but my intuition points to bitch having pruder, meaner, more stuck-up connotations than that. To figure this out, our linguist from Southern Illinois University conveniently outlined the timeline of bitch implications, starting with female dog, then moving on to prostitute, shifting then to a sort of servant, go fetch me my tea, bitch, then onto an unpleasant person, and finally adopting the verbal form meaning to complain. Sorry for bitching so much about my job. He also surveyed a small population sample to find out the primary descriptors currently associated with the word and ultimately determined those to be active, excitable, competitive, feminine, and insensitive, which personally don't sound so bad to me. In the past few years, a conclusively positive reappropriation of bitch has also risen, just as the UC studies found. This has been particularly noted in Valley Girl speak, and also in the gay community. It's been theorized that this new meaning may derive from the characteristics of flashiness, colorfulness, and glitter associated with the lewd bitches of 1400 AD. All things considered, bitch probably isn't going anywhere soon because at the end of the day, like the Cumber bitches said, the word is simply fun to say. And believe it or not, there's even a linguistic reason for that. There is a lot more to the article. We'll link it in the show notes. But I wanted to talk about this because words have power and language has power, and it changes over time. And I find this kind of stuff fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, how did the word get from, like female animals to like boss bitch? And there are people who have studied it, and there are
Yeah.
papers. There's going to be links in that article if you guys want to read like really nerdy stuff.
Linguistics is fascinating. We're the only creatures on the planet that have language. There's communication with other species, but we're the only species that has language. And it's
That
fascinating
we know of.
how it develops and changes. I didn't know any of that. That's so cool.
I
And
didn't
I like the
either.
idea of like when someone calls me a bitch next time of like they just call me something from like 2000 BC. Like that's legendary.
Yeah.
Like
Do you mean that in the
Sanskrit's so
Sanskrit meaning,
yeah.
or could you be more
Yeah.
specific?
Just
Is this a
like
is this a 15th century interpretation or more modern
yeah,
day?
like
Because
like
I personally adopt the new millennium definition of
yes.
bitch. But like if you're stuck in the 1400s, like I get it.
And yeah, and it's just the context of it all. I know yeah, when women or when members of the LGBTQ plus community call me bitch, hoe, like all that stuff, I'm like, thank you. Like
Right.
Yeah.
It's
I think
endearment.
it's wonderful. Not the
Yeah.
same not the well, yeah, no, definitely not the same when men call me that. That's definitely more of that 1400 century demeaning, put you down, and yeah, and they even have it like guys amongst themselves. It reminds me a lot of there's a documentary called Tough Guys, Guise,
Mhm.
really known in our grad school about just how men are indoctrinated into the patriarchy and are some of their biggest victims as well. And they talk about just like how everything about being a man is diametrically opposed to womanhood. Don't be a pussy, don't be a girl, don't be a bitch, don't be like, and it's like, yeah, what does that mean though for women in your life if that's how you're socialized? Don't be weak like women. So it's just sort of
Yeah.
this
Who are not weak.
no, no, not at all. Actually, biologically, we are superior. Like
Heck
if
yeah.
you look at
We're much
just
more
science,
resilient.
yeah,
Yeah.
just science. We're smarter on average. We have higher IQs. We are more resilient. Yeah, we don't have as much muscle
We live
mass.
longer.
Yep, yep. We don't have as much muscle mass, but we have higher pain tolerances. So, like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
men are only stronger when you measure by like ability to lift heavy objects.
True.
It's like that's only one factor in strength, and they focus on
Yeah,
that.
Mm-hmm.
They love that
yeah.
one. And it's like, yeah, but what about like ability to, birth a freaking mango out of your vagina? Like, can men do
Or
that? I don't
get a
get it.
No.
shot without, like, I
Yeah.
mean, we've had patients pass out, all men pass out from getting their blood drawn. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's more of like, I think for me, I would like to know more of an acknowledgement of that from
Mhm.
men of like, yeah, no, that's crazy. I can't do that. Like
Yeah.
I like those videos of the period cramp simulator. Like I just the acknowledgement of like, yeah, no, women are better than men at this. So looking at the binary of it, of like, yeah, you guys are better
Yeah.
at this, and that's okay. But yeah, it is an odd sort of thing of like if women are better, then men are less than. It's like that's not how that works.
Well,
Like,
there's, I don't know if how you feel about Meghan Markle, but she put out a really good
Hmm.
podcast on Spotify called
Mhm.
Archetypes, and
Mm.
bitch was one of the. Each episode was a word that has been used to mostly negatively with a woman. And she
Mm.
goes into, she has special guests on, and they talk about how they've taken that name back and taken the power back from what that's supposed to mean. So if you're looking
Mm.
for, they're quick
Yeah,
episodes, but it's a really good, a lot like the
absolutely.
article you just read, kind of gives the history of some of the archetypes and words that are out there used to describe women, and how as we've evolved, we've taken those words back to mean what we want them to mean.
I like it.
I am fascinated,
Yeah.
and I'm definitely going to listen to
I
that
know, I'm
podcast,
looking it
and
up
we'll link it
now.
in the show notes as
I know.
well.
Cool,
Is it
cool.
is it
Uh,
called Exposed?
No, it's archetype.
Archetype. Because I want
um,
to.
that's fantastic.
Thank you.
So to bring it back to the show, there's this amazing scene where Cordelia is really beat down by this ghost who's telling her she's worthless, that she stinks of poverty. And then Cordelia remembers herself. And I'm going to play a clip, of course, because that's what I do.
I knew you were trouble from the start. I'm surprised that my son didn't smell the stench of poverty and failure on you. I can.
I'm sorry.
Better be sorry, you stupid little bitch.
I'm a bitch.
Take off the bed sheets. Make a noose. Go on. It'll all be over soon.
I'm not a sniveling, whiny little cry, Buffy. I'm the nastiest girl in Sunnydale history. I take crap from no one.
You're going to make yourself a noose and put it around.
Back off, Polygrip! You think you're bad? All mean and haunty? Picking on poor, pathetic Cordy? Well, get ready to haul your wrinkly, translucent ass out of this place, because, lady, the bitch is back.
Woo.
Oh,
Love that.
It's so satisfying.
Yes, so good. So good. I love that.
I love a woman feeling her own power, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and I
Yeah,
love
and,
that
like,
it
you can't
was
scare me.
that bitch that triggered her. She's
Yeah.
like, you know what? I am. And here's what's
Yeah.
about to happen. I loved that.
Yeah.
That's so great. Yeah, that's sort of awakening. Because you think when she calls her that, she's going to get the same response that Angry Ghost Mom got before. And it was like, no,
Yeah.
no,
No.
not
You're
this
messing with the
woman.
wrong person this time.
Mm-hmm.
That scene is so hilarious, right? Like that is intercut with the scene of Angel and Doyle trying to like simultaneously fight off the goons and do like a ghost cleansing ritual. There's stuff flying around the room. It's one of my favorite action scenes on the show because it's so ridiculous. Those two guys are like, "Who's that?" And then the demon guy is like, "That's just a ghost. Ignore it." And like just the connotations of that in like Los Angeles. I love to picture that like that demon guy walks around Los Angeles in his suit and people are like, he must be in a movie. or
Yeah.
something." Like,
Be the same thing in New York City. I'm like, oh, okay.
oh yeah. I've seen weirder stuff than that on the subways in New York
Seriously.
City. So
Seriously.
I love thinking about what it would be like to live in a city where there was like this whole demon underground and like over the course of the series, we're going to see a lot of like the sort of demon economy of Los Angeles.
Yes.
There's like, they have demon spas and demon brothels and demon gambling
Mhm.
establishments. And like, there's so many demon businesses. Like, no wonder they need a demon friendly law
I
firm.
know.
It makes sense. Penny, I need you
It
to
really
get a job
does.
at a demon. If that comes to fruition, please get a job at a demon law firm and tell us all about it.
Yeah.
I mean, a new one.
I don't know if I could have what it takes. I might be a little too nice, but I could maybe try to be like undercover
There you go.
agent.
I like it. I like it. Also, could
I certainly would enjoy working with Lindsay.
same. Same.
And
How are you, Becky, with the Christian Kane of it all, Lindsay McDonald?
I loved him. My first discovery of him was Angel. And
Mhm.
then what's that show? Leverage. I haven't
Yeah.
seen every single episode, but I thoroughly enjoy the ones that I've seen. I think
Yes.
he's nice to look at, and he does such a great job of towing that line between super good and super bad in Angel that
Mhm.
just makes it makes you have some feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very attractive, and he plays Lindsay so
Yeah.
well. I I love his portrayal. I love the moral quandaries that he goes
Mhm.
through.
Yes, and especially with his history, we have an upcoming episode with him that's probably one of my favorite in Angel because it has him, but it also, I think, humanizes more morally gray people in those areas. Of just
Yeah,
like there's a reason he's like this, and it's not just pure evil or pure greed. There's actually trauma in there. But yeah, I'd like some
yeah.
demons to run
He
our
can
country
sing too.
instead. Yeah. Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd prefer demons at this
All right,
point.
we'll get to Christian
Yeah.
Kane in the future. Yeah, seriously. Uh, I mean, like Lorne, who's season
Yeah.
2, is a
Oh,
demon, and I would vote for Lorne.
Delightful.
I
There's a
love
lot of
I would,
Lauren.
nice demons. Yeah, like I'm thinking
yeah. Or what's the
Blarp,
season 6
Blarp,
demon
Blarp,
that it in Buffy, the one who has like all the
skin
skin
hanging. I
folds and
want to say
stuff,
it's Blarp
and
or
he's
Clarp. Something. I know who you're talking about.
yeah, he's a
He
sweetheart.
is.
I don't know if I would want him to be president though. He doesn't seem very bright.
No, he doesn't. But you know what? Would it be that much different from other
I
things?
know.
I don't know.
Gnarl.
No.
So,
Gnarl.
No,
No, Gnarl is the gross
Clem.
one from season
Clem,
Yes,
6.
Clem.
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 he is a
Clem.
doll.
You were right. It was just some kind of
Yeah.
name, like word sound. Clem.
But yeah,
So
no,
adorable.
they would actually be a little bit more organized, hopefully. Yeah.
So the demons coming after Doyle. Let's just talk about that a little bit. There are some really great moments between Angel and Doyle in the episode
Yes.
where Angel agrees to like look into this and try to help Doyle with his situation,
Mhm.
but then he's like, "Why do you live like this?"
Yeah.
And I've got that, of course, so we can listen to it and then talk about
Perfect.
it.
Why do you live like this?
Well, why not live like this? I mean, what's wrong with it? Yeah, well, I guess it's the kind of life that keeps your expectations from getting too high. Seems like you'd understand that.
I do.
Yeah.
I just don't know why that's important to you. This kind of life sort of picked me. You don't have to do it this way. What happened?
Don't worry about it, okay?
Angel's being a true friend,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm gonna keep you from getting killed, but I'm also gonna talk to you in a real way about like the way you're living your life is eventually going to get you killed.
Well, I
Yeah,
love
and I'm
how he
worried.
caught the conversation with Cordelia, when they're talking and he clocks that something happened with Doyle
Mm.
and then he sets it up. So he's like, hey, there's somebody up here that wants to talk to you and knows Doyle's going to bolt and he's waiting for him. So he's like, come clean with me, talk to me, tell me what's going on.
Mhm.
And it really, I think this was also a bit of good character development for Doyle
Mhm.
because it doesn't seem like Doyle he takes himself seriously, or
Mhm.
obviously he doesn't have the best self esteem based on that conversation he just had with Angel,
Yeah.
and I think he thinks that that's all he deserves in life. And I
Mm.
love
Yeah.
throughout the rest of this season as they grow as a unit, and I think this is one of the first episodes where we really start to see the three of them gel together as
Mhm.
a little Angel Investigations
Yeah.
family. That he's in that conversation with Angel, as much as he fights it initially, he's realizing, okay, there are reasons to want a better life. It's okay to want a better life. It's okay
Mhm.
to put in the work to have a better life, and it's okay to let people around good people around you
Mhm.
in to help you get there. And that was
Mm.
Doyle's one of my favorite characters of the show,
Mhm.
aside from the one we're going to meet at the end
Mm.
of the episode. But I just yes to the
Mm.
that true friendship, and Angel really cares for him, and I'm glad that he showed Doyle that.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. I've known people like this, right? Whose lives are a
Mhm.
disaster. And you think, oh no, like this horrible, like a bunch of bad stuff happened to this person and they're down on their luck. And then you get to know them a little bit better and you're like, oh, you are perpetuating this disaster, like, with
Mm.
every choice you make. Like, I see it, and I've had to remove myself from those relationships because I'll get sucked in and then my life will be a
Yeah.
disaster. And
Yeah.
there's a bad things happen to people out of the blue
Mhm.
sometimes,
Absolutely.
and they get knocked off of their steady life. And it can happen when you're a kid, it can happen when you're an adult,
Mm.
it could be a sickness, it can be a natural disaster, it can be, being in the wrong place at the wrong time and getting, hurt or something. There's all kinds of bad things that can happen.
Yeah.
But I think that people who have a low opinion of themselves get stuck in this trap of bad things happen to me because I deserve it.
Mm.
I should not even try to make smart decisions. I'm stupid. I only make stupid decisions. I'll just go ahead and keep doing these stupid things.
Mm.
And it's a feedback loop of depression.
Yeah.
And also when you're constantly in a state of drama, you don't have a lot of time to think. Right? You're
Yeah.
like, I got to keep from getting killed, and then I got to pay this guy, and then I got to get some money and go to this other place. And then, like, when do you sit down and go like, I should strategize a way to not always be living like this?
Yeah.
Angel told him the truth,
Mhm.
and he needed to hear it. And one thing about telling people the truth when something in their life is you have to say it to them, they're not necessarily going to go, you're right. I'm going to change starting right
Yep.
now.
Oh.
It's a
Right?
Oh
process.
my
Like,
gosh, that after school
you have
special
to,
reaction.
yeah,
It's
you
very
have
rare.
to let it soak a little
Yeah.
bit. Like, let them marinate in what you said.
Mhm.
They won't think about it right away. They'll probably get defensive right away, but like, saying it is valuable because someday they will realize you were
Yeah.
right, or hopefully they will.
Exactly. And I between being a therapist and having 20 plus years in my own personal therapy, um yeah, for me my values are like they align with being honest if I'm concerned, and it's always coming from a place of kindness and concern for someone that I care about, and sort of just putting in my 2 cents because it's just my 2 cents. I'm not living this person's life, so there's no way I can possibly know what's going on. And I do that, out of kindness, respect, caring. I don't worry about with some things I maybe need to worry about a little bit more of like, oh no, what if you hurt someone's feelings? Expressing concern, which is very valid, and I've had those reactions, and I completely understand it. And it's it's because you stepped on someone's landmine by accident, and it's something where it's like I respect this person to just be honest and respect their autonomy and their ability to take care of themselves. I find not telling people that you care about, don't want to waste your energy on people that you don't. Um, Not telling people how you're thinking, how you're feeling is almost infantilizing them and saying like, oh,
Yeah.
they can't handle this. I gotta tell you, my profession has helped me to understand that's not true. These are fully grown adults and they're very resilient. And you might not be right in your suggestion. That's okay. And it's just putting it out there as it's just my 2 cents and respecting their autonomy if they're not ready or they may never be ready. They have to do it on their own time. Change is so hard. It
Ugh.
requires so much time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears, and we got to figure out what we can attend to when we can attend to it. And so I sort of come from this modality of like, if I'm concerned, I say it, and then maybe I'll say it again in a couple of weeks or something. Like I'm not gonna harp on it. And then also respecting that this is a fully grown adult and they're gonna make their decisions, and I autonomy is the hill I will die on as a person and a professional. So I need to respect that in
Yeah.
everyone. And also, like what you were talking about, Penny, is like self soothing because it's painful to watch someone suffer and, you know, not be ready or not be in a space where they want to take that on. Like we see in this episode, Doyle's just not ready there. We'll see in the
Yeah.
future.
And he said, like, maybe I'll tell you
Yes.
later. And I think Angel approached it the best way you can, which
Hmm.
is he helped deal with the immediate
Yeah.
danger. And then he got to a place where he and Doyle were alone together in a calm setting, and there was no danger happening right
Hmm.
then. And then he broached the topic in a way that did not sound judgmental.
No.
It was
Yeah.
curious, to quote, Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental.
Mhm.
Like, why are you like this?
Yeah.
And you don't have to be like this. But he also was sort of like, all right, we talked about it.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we can move on from here when you're ready to tell
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But I can't help you unless I know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it left Doyle with the dignity of his autonomy
Yeah.
and his own like personal decision making.
Mhm.
But at the same time, Angel was very clear. Like, I can help
Mhm.
you, but I'm not going to help you
Yes.
continue down this path. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm not going to be like defending you from money collecting demons every week.
Yes.
But if you want to change, like, I will help you.
Yeah.
And he was respectful and calm. And,
Mhm.
you know, that's a really hard thing to do. If you want to have a serious conversation with someone,
Yeah.
I suggest sort of rehearsing it in advance and finding a way to do it in a calm and non-judgmental way. Your temptation might be like, you have to stop drinking or whatever the thing
Yeah,
is that you want to
it
talk
doesn't
about,
work.
right? But that will never work. That will only make them
Yeah.
defensive. It has to be a respectful, calm, open
Yeah,
conversation.
and one-on-ones, I know speaking of substances and like Doyle, we find a little bit more about what he's, what's going on. Yeah, I know group interventions work. I'm not a fan of it. I know that show made it really popular. I have not seen it work. I know it does. It's just my personal recommendation is it just really makes them defensive. And it really gets their back up and they feel ganged up on, like a bunch of people coming at them. I find like it's the motivational interviewing. That's a key. You can Google that. That's what us therapists do when we work with people who don't want to change. And planting a seed and moving forward and taking care of yourself and everyone else around you, because if and when this person decides to change, it can't be for you. So like Angel acknowledges that, like, I'm here, but I'm also not going to be a target of all this stuff. We'll be here later if and when you're ready. So it was a
Yeah.
very, very good, kind way. And and if you're going to talk to people, please don't use a sentence, we need to talk, or I need to talk to you.
Right.
It
That
gets people's blood
automatically.
pressure. Yep. Just dive right
Yeah.
in. Just, like, obviously not in a crowd. And like Penny said, maybe, put some bullet points in that you want to use I statements, that kind of stuff. But just
Yeah.
really, there's no good way to have these conversations. And when people use those statements, it just ends up getting people's blood pressure up really fast, which is not what you
Yeah.
want.
And, saying, I understand that this is a lot to take
Yeah.
in. Why don't you take some
Yeah.
time to think about it is incredibly
Mhm.
Absolutely.
powerful. Because saying, like, I don't need you to respond to me right now. I
Yeah.
needed to tell you what I thought. And, you know, you don't have to say anything. Just give them permission to, like, process in their own speed.
Absolutely.
I'm one of those people that if somebody tells me something, I'll be like, okay, fine. And then like 2 days later, I'll know how I really feel about it.
Yeah.
So anytime that I'm pressured to give a substantive response right away to something emotional, I crash and burn.
Yeah.
So for me, it would be very important to be like, I think that this is something, whatever it is,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
when you're ready to talk about it, I'm here. That would work on me so much
Yep.
better than like an intervention where there's like multiple people.
That's
Like,
it's not
that's horrible.
great. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great point, Penny, of like, so when I've seen this go poorly with people, I usually say like, I need some time, like to process it, like, rather than like, because people will push back even though absolutely we could all use some time. They're like,
Hmm.
you don't know what I need. You're right, I need some time. So can we talk about
Yeah.
this later? Like, fair point.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta say, like, I really appreciated some of these very transparent patients who are like, I no longer say calm down. I no longer say I know that seems like, no, you don't know. That's true.
Mhm.
Like, yep, nope, that's
Yeah.
absolutely true. You're right. And I tell them that, which oddly also deflates the anger in the moment of like, oh, I thought you were going to fight me on that. I'm like, no, you were right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Amazing. We did get a lot of fun stuff with Angel fighting that
Oh
demon
my
and being
gosh.
all like tough and cool about it. When he's like, Oh, I feel like fighting if you want. You might last 10 minutes. Like all the like sort of classic Angel being, you know, a badass and an amazing
Yeah.
fighter. Sometimes I forget because I get caught up in the like redemption and
Yes.
all that stuff, but like he's also an action
Oh
hero.
yeah, when he snapped that demon's neck, I was like,
Oh yeah, that
"Oh."
was. I like it when he
Yeah.
slams the one guy. What does he say? What's your name? And he's was it what he said? What's your name? And the guy that wouldn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
tell him, and hit
Responds
him
like,
again, and he said it again. It made me think of like Walter White from Breaking Bad. What say my name?
yeah.
And it's
Say my
very
name.
attractive. Which
Yeah.
Now I just see that imagery
Uh,
superimposed on there.
yeah.
the thing about these fantasy shows where there are a lot of villains that are like not human
Yes.
is it gives you a chance to enjoy the violence that you
Yes.
would not enjoy the same way
If
if
it
it
was
was
a
always like
human.
humans fighting
Yeah.
humans. It's
Absolutely.
like kill that vampire,
Yep.
snap his neck,
Yeah.
like kill the demon. Like
It's so
you're
different.
able to sort of enjoy it
Yes.
in a way that's really different
Squid
from
Game.
like more realistic
Yeah,
shows.
like
Oh
Squid
gosh.
like, my family is still surprised that that show just gets me, like, viscerally, and they're like, "Your favorite movies are horror movies." I'm like, "Yes, but they're
Yeah,
fictional." And they're like, "So is this." I'm like, "It
yeah,
doesn't look like it, though."
It doesn't feel no, it doesn't. It feels way too real.
Yeah, human on human
yeah.
violence gets me.
Squid Game is intense. And of course, I also podcast about the show Yellow Jackets,
Yeah.
and there is a lot of stuff that happens on that show between humans that is extremely
Mhm.
disturbing. I have to say, it's always a relief when I like switch from Yellow Jackets in my head to like Buffy or Angel in my
Yeah.
head, and I'm like, ah,
Mm.
a world where good and evil are clearer.
Yeah,
And like,
and
even though
good
these
wins.
shows have a lot of subtlety and gray areas, but like compared to Yellow Jackets, like it's such a relief to be like, I know Buffy's the good
Yeah.
guy. Phew.
Yes, yeah, it reminds me from the episode season 2, I think it was after Jenny Calendar's murder, and she was looking she was with Giles over the Jenny Calendar's grave, and she's like, something like, tell me it's going to be okay. And he's like, do you want the truth? And she goes, lie to me. And he goes,
Yeah.
Oh
all the
yeah.
good guys are easily spotted, and it all works, everything out in the end. And she's like, liar. Like, that's one of like my core memories of watching the show. But yeah, it's a lot different. And what I love about these shows is like the good guys actually win, and like they're conquering the bad guys, and more I find that something to pull to and to gravitate to of the hero that saves the day, and it actually works, as opposed to things in real life, even true crime documentaries. My family and I mean, all of us kind of just grew up watching true crime. I don't know what that did to our brain chemistry, but I think it probably contributed to my favorite movies being horror movies. and and
Yeah,
and
seriously.
yeah,
Well, you're not alone. True crime is wildly
Mhm.
yeah,
popular.
because we get answers.
Eh,
And there's actually justice. And one of the most infuriating things for a lot of true crime listeners, and even like my family especially, I know not to show them any true crime documentaries where the killer wasn't found. Because
Yeah.
and to be fair, I don't particularly care for that either. So it is this sort of resolution, myth of justice, closure, or whatever you want to call it. And we get that in this episode, which
Yeah.
I haven't watched this episode in 20 years. Like, I really,
Wow.
it's not one I go back to. It might be now. But it's not one that I go back to a lot. And I'm watching this episode and I'm like, I don't remember it going this way. Like, I remember the killer mom ghost who killed Dennis. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't. And they're like, yeah, they kept saying it. I remember like checking it and I'm like, 10 more minutes
Mhm.
remaining. I I guess he really did murder her. Like, I was
Oh yeah.
very
The twist.
confused. Yeah. And it fits in with the the myth of not myth, but like the stereotypes of the first couple episodes of Angel, which is men are doing horrible things to women. And so, like, and it
Yeah.
sort of follows that. And I'm just watching it of like, I like gaslighting myself, I guess, because I was like, nope, I remembered it wrong. And then
Yeah.
that final scene, and it's like, I remember that scene like
Yeah.
clear as day from when I first watched it 25 years ago, and 24 and a half of like, I was like, oh, I remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
Yeah. He didn't kill his mother. Like,
yeah,
oh my
like
God.
it was
Amazing.
wild. I liked that turnabout because it played on our expectations.
It did. And, Dennis becomes one of the best characters
Yeah.
throughout the whole season. And this episode, where there's a lot of, especially with the torture episode with Angel and Spike,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of dark. And while this one had a dark storyline, the majority of the episode really was comedic and light. And
Yeah.
even Angel was, it was like laid back, chill, not the, heavy mask of brooding that he has. And that is why when I was like, I want to come on for an episode, I picked this episode because it stood out in the all of season 1. When you ask me about season 1, this is the one that I'm like, I loved that episode. And then at the end when she's back, Cordelia's back to being Cordelia on the phone, making a joke about how she lives with her roommate, but he's never around. And then Dennis is like a cat trying to knock the drink off the table
to
and
get her attention.
and her joking about the receptionist at work being terrible when she is the terrible receptionist at work. And Angel in the beginning is like, I really had hopes for her with the phones, and well, we see how that goes. It just nobody except for that conversation with Angel and Doyle that you talked about, but nobody really took themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
The peanut butter in the bed, the cutting up the linoleum. It just Chris Carpenter's comedic acting really shone in this episode, and I just love it for giving us Dennis and giving us just a fun, cool little twist in the end. It was just such a fun episode, and it really stands out in my mind.
Yeah.
It's so funny. All the scenes of Cordelia in Angel's apartment were just gold.
So great.
Like you were saying, the peanut butter on the bed thing where she's like, that's gross.
I don't know how you did it. You got peanut butter in the bed.
Yeah. Okay.
And her cheeky little,
do you have any linoleum glue?
her cheeky little grin when he's like, whose wet towel is on my leather sofa?
Yeah,
and
she's
just like,
it's like Cordy, you and Buffy are closer and have more in common than you think. Buffy is also a terrible roommate.
Yeah, it's true. We did learn that this season on Buffy. Like, she's just obnoxious.
If you
my God.
If you could pick your ghost, so we all get fancy homes that apartments or homes that are apparently really affordable and amazing, great views.
And furnished.
Yeah. Which, I mean, they must have had done a lot of repair work because they trashed that apartment.
Oh, yeah.
The ghosts and the demons. But who would you like? What kind of ghost, if you could pick your ghost to be your roommate? Kind of.
I think I would want a woman ghost.
I was thinking that too. There's no way to prove Dennis isn't looking
at
you
you. The one thing
changing.
about Dennis that always creeps me out is like he sees Cordelia in the shower and stuff.
Yeah, but he also
pooping.
Works to protect her.
I mean, he cares about her.
Yeah.
He cares about her.
So I don't know. I really don't think I care at this point, at this age, nearing 50, if it's male or female. Just don't be scary. Be cool.
Be cool. You know what I would like? I would like a gay guy. Like a really over the top, like so gay guy ghost.
I like
who would
that.
be like, who would like throw away the clothes that he thinks I shouldn't wear.
Oh,
Break stuff that he thinks is ugly in the house. Be
yes.
like, you're not going to have that anymore.
That would be fun.
Absolutely.
That's a ghost I could get along with. That would actually be a funny little sitcom.
That
would
would
be.
be. That would be. That would actually
Oh,
be
my
really great. I like that.
my ghost won't let me wear that outfit. Okay.
I'm gonna start using that excuse with the clothing that family's given me that I can't return and I don't
My
wear.
ghost said I couldn't wear it. Sorry.
My ghost won't let me wear it.
It's the dog ate my homework.
There you go.
My ghost shredded that shirt. It's gone. That would be so fun.
amazing.
We would play great music and have ghost dance parties.
Yeah.
I'd be happy.
I
Yeah,
really
I
like
need
that.
one that wants to watch TV with me and talk about, because that's what I like to do,
Like
is sit
nerdy
and watch
stuff.
Yeah.
TV with my cats. So just hang out with me and my cats. I don't really
Yeah.
care.
That
Just don't be
would
scary.
Yes.
Yeah, I would be fine with a ghost roommate.
Yeah,
That'd be fun.
that would be really cool. Yeah, just I wouldn't want them watching me poop. I think that would be like hard line in the
Yeah.
sand.
I only the cat gets to watch me.
Because
So
they will follow. They don't care. They're like,
No.
don't shut the door,
Something-
Mom, because
Yeah, if I shut the door and shut him out of the bathroom when I'm in there, he like
Oh, forget
attacks
that.
the
Yeah,
door.
yeah.
my little
No,
Phoebe,
Yeah.
she's the same way.
Yep, I have to leave the
Yeah,
door
like,
open.
you're in danger, Mom. I
I
need to be
can't
in there
see
with
you. Something's wrong.
Yes, and it smells terrible. What is happening? It's like, oh, I have to get the more poopery. My cat is losing her mind.
Oh, that makes me want my departed
No.
Frisco to be my ghost.
Oh, that
Oh,
would be
that
wonderful.
would be fun. Although they'd just be knocking stuff over the counter and you'd never be able to predict it.
See, she didn't do
Yeah.
that.
Oh.
Oh, she was a really
No,
good
she was
cat.
she was the grumpiest, most hateful cat on the planet, but
She was your
was-
grump.
when I was sick or she knew Mom was down, because she wasn't a snuggler until towards the end, but she would be right by my side, and
Aw.
she just was that silent companion. And when
Mm.
she needed me, she'd show up, and when I needed her, she'd show up. But otherwise, we just coexisted. And yeah, I want Ghost
Oh, that's
Frisco.
so sweet.
Yeah, Ghost Frisco. Ghost Frisco. When you were describing her, I'm like, kind of sounds like Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. Like, was she also sitting next to you when you were upset, being like, the manager, the ex, the neighbor? I have my list of who's wronged my mama, and I'm gonna
I
hunt them
worry
down as
sometimes I was on that list.
a cat has no name.
Yes, seriously. Arya Stark is quite a lot cat-like. She's also like, she doesn't have claws, but like the way she handles a short sword and a dagger.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
close.
Needle. Yep. Just she has her
Yeah.
her little needles.
Yeah.
One of the things that popped out for me on the episode that I wasn't expecting, and definitely did not have this experience the first time I've watched it or in the 20 years since, is now being a psychologist. Oh, this took on a whole new meaning for me. It with Angry Mom Ghost and Cordelia, and just hearing that she did this to other, women in the past, it just sort of reminded me of like, my patient is Cordelia and I'm the one trying to help them with the angry mom ghost that is in their head. Oddly enough, sometimes it is their mom and or their
Yeah.
dad or their ex-partner or something. And even if they don't have contact with those individuals, the ghost of them lives in my patients and is coming up
It's
for them
true.
with low self-esteem and pushing them with just the things that Angry Mom Ghost was saying. I was like, oh, like those are those inner thoughts where, like, if patients say that, like, I say, like, well, whose voice is that? Because that's not yours. And like it's the ghosts of abusive parents and abusive partners, and my work is like trying to get them to find themselves and push back and say like, no, I am in my congruent self, I have worth, you are my developmental trauma, you don't belong here anymore. And when she said like, get out of my house, I was like, yes, get out. And so
Yeah.
I just thought that was
It's
so cool.
Yeah, that was
I
powerful.
hadn't thought about it that way, that like, we talk all the time when we talk about Buffy about how the monsters represent real world issues and
Hmm.
they've just been exaggerated and turned into fantasy
Yeah.
creatures. I hadn't thought about this ghost as developmental trauma,
Mhm.
but she absolutely is, because that she was a horrible
Oh
mother
my
to
god,
Dennis too.
yes. Up
Like,
until the
so
end.
controlling.
Yeah.
Dennis probably had all kinds of
Oh
trauma
yeah.
from living with this horrible woman, and
Mhm.
I never put that together. Sam, your job, you should start telling people, is that you're a Ghostbuster.
Oh my
I
gosh.
should! Oh my
That would be
gosh!
amazing. That's got to be
A
on your
lot of
business
them would really
card.
like that too. A lot of them would really like that
Yeah.
too. I like it. Yeah, because it is echoes from the past.
We'll get you a little khaki jumpsuit with your
Right?
name on it and a
I love
big,
it.
crazy, weird looking backpack. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. I of course I love Ghostbusters, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just yeah. I wasn't prepared for, like, I was just watching the episode and I haven't seen it in so long, and for me it's really hard to watch anything that talks about suicide. It's just my job just kind of takes me out of it. So I'd imagine as hospital workers are directly with the pit and ER and Grey's Anatomy, it's just like, oh, like this isn't fun for
Yeah.
me. And so
Hey, this is the only lawyer TV show I
see,
like.
yeah, see, yep, like that
It's
totally
the
makes
only
sense.
one. I cannot watch
No,
other lawyer TV shows. They make my skin
yeah,
crawl. So,
it
I
yeah,
get it.
it takes
Yeah.
you out of it, and I'm just like I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like just the things that she was saying and doubling down on it, attacking Cordelia, and the trying to murder Cordelia, but with the
Make it look like a suicide
exactly,
too. That's so
which is what
insidious. If you're
happens.
gonna murder someone, murder them.
Yes.
Like, faking a suicide is so underhanded and
Exactly.
cowardly.
Own your bloodshed. But like but like I'm sort of watching
I
this.
have a
Oh, go ahead.
I have a sound clip of, I just titled it Mean
Oh,
Ghost. I don't
yes.
remember exactly what
Oh,
it is,
cool.
but let's
Yes.
I
listen.
will leave, please.
Oh, I don't think so. You're worthless. You've never been kind. You've never been smart. You're a user. You're nothing. Everyone would be glad if you were dead.
No.
Oh, come on. If anyone really cared about you, would you be here? People let you end up here because they were happy to see you fail.
Yeah. Like that is like
It's
yeah, like
mean.
that is like that's what developmental trauma says to us. And even if our parents or even our adult partners didn't say that directly to us, that's what we were made to think about ourselves. And that's how people.
And plenty of parents have said
Oh
those
yeah.
exact kinds of things to their
And
Well,
yeah,
children.
and you
Worthless.
internalize
Nobody would
it,
miss you if you were dead.
and
Like,
you wouldn't be here, and it's like this is what we see with suicidal ideation, of like these sort of thoughts that happen. And so like I was watching because I didn't remember most of it, and so I'm like, oh my gosh. And then the murder was happening. I'm like, yeah, but if you don't, which I read way too much into it, but if you don't fight back those thoughts for yourself and others, that is where it can lead you in the extreme, is death and by suicide, or just a
or other
recklessness. Yeah,
self-destructive behaviors.
exactly.
Yeah, just
And we see like her
if you believe that
friends.
you're
Yeah,
worthless,
and we
yeah,
we
that's
see it.
if you believe you're worthless, like
Yeah,
Doyle, who lets himself be in constant
absolutely.
life-threatening situations, or Cordy, who is at the beginning of
Yeah.
feeling like she's worthless,
Yeah.
and it it leads you to not protect yourself from
And
anything.
allowing those thoughts to come in and to stay. And we see, like, again, maybe I'm reading way too much into it, but like she was saved from that, from the murder attempt from her friends showing up and talking to her and empowering her and saying, you need to fight this. You can fight this. This is who you are.
Yeah.
And like, you've let her in, so you're the only one who can do this. And it's like, yeah, we need support. That's one of the main things I try to find for people and myself, is a support system. You can't do this alone. And like, we need people. We're social creatures. So like, it took her friends coming in and reminding her, and then, of course, there's a little bit of Hollywood magic of them saying that amazing line, and she's like, it flipped the switch in her of like, no, I am the bitch, and I'm about to push back, and like,
Yeah.
this is like what meds, therapy, and support do for you. Like, you fight
Yeah.
back.
And friends and
Yeah.
community, like having people who are like, let's get out of here for
Yeah,
now and we'll figure it out,
absolutely.
is like, that saved Cordelia's
Yeah.
life. Just saying, we're going to remove you from the danger
Yeah.
and figure it out with
Mhm.
you. Like, that is the most empowering thing you could say to
Yep.
someone. It's like, I'm here to help.
You're not alone.
We're going to figure it
Mhm.
out.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about it. And it's so powerful in how that like metaphor unfurled, and I'm like, yeah, this is how this works. Your friends need to remind you of who you are when those trauma or those thoughts come creeping in, and staying, like, just like a passing thought, but like stick around and sort of put you into this dark space. And hopefully through a lot of work, you are able to internalize your own set of values and beliefs that you take in from yourself and from the environment, and it's able to dull out the developmental trauma. Because like, people who come to me with like low self-worth, low self-esteem, are people pleasers at the expense of themselves. That's not actually who we're meant to be. Those are responses to trauma, or just a
Mhm.
rough environment, maybe not trauma, but a rough environment. But who we are, like, we value ourselves, we value our lives, and we want to be here. So like, let's get your voice to become stronger, and that will push out the bad voices, because those bad voices
Yeah.
aren't you.
That's how you defeat the
Yes,
ghosts.
Yeah.
yes.
It's so great. It's such a great metaphor. I'm so happy.
Well,
Yay.
listening to you say all of that, it reminds me, I'm just sitting here thinking she's talking about me. Growing
Oh.
up, I mentioned, or before we jumped on to record, how I didn't have a good relationship with my dad growing up. I'm one of three kids, but I was the one that was adopted. I was the only girl. I don't know why, but he treated me differently. He put me down like that my parents are both in the medical profession, and I remember being 5 years old and being like, I want to be a doctor like you, and he flat out said, no, you can't, you're not capable of that. I worked hard to get this stupid gold card in 8th grade where you got straight A's. I had to do so much math extra credit because I suck at math, and I brought it home to show him, and he's like, you'll never be able to do that again. But it was just constantly, he wouldn't
Gosh.
involve me
Just
in things.
chipping away at your
Yeah, and he
self-esteem.
wouldn't involve me with things that he would do with my brothers. They went to the airport. They were going to the airport to pick up my stepsister once, and he came to the door, and my little brother's like, "Yeah, we're waiting on Becky," and he's like, "I didn't ask her to come."
Oh,
So
Awful.
I
Jesus.
grew up, and then
I hate
we
this
I
talked
one.
know.
about
I do too.
him cheating on my mother, and I grew up thinking that I had low self-esteem, I had low self-worth, and I made very poor choices when it came to men, and had a lot of people treat me poorly, and
Mm.
put myself in bad situations and whatnot. And the last one crushed me, and so
Mm.
I was like, I need help. And it took a friend who was like, listen, I'll listen to you all day, but I can't help you through, I can't fix what's
Mm.
going on. I think it's time you talk to someone. And I did. I
Mm.
spent 6 months in therapy with the sweetest little Jewish lady. But it wasn't, it's, and it still is sometimes, an everyday reminder to look at myself. And one of my favorite things that she had me do that I still do now is I had to wake up in the morning and look at something about myself and say, I like
Mm-hmm.
this today. It might be my eyebrows look good,
Yay.
or
Your eyebrows
my
do look
hair
good.
looks good today, or you're a
Also your hair.
warrior at this, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But and it
Yes.
just, hearing you talk about that, it was not the, fortunately, I never made it to the suicidal side of
Mm-hmm.
it, but it got dark. And it is,
Yeah.
everything you just said is so true. And I'm grateful that you are that person for a lot of those people, to help them find themselves and find that courage and strength and love. And through that, I've got a very healthy, happy marriage.
Yay.
It's just, thank you for what you do for
Oh.
people like me who need people like you to be at a place where we love ourselves. And
Yeah.
that does, just thank you. And
Gonna
yeah,
make me cry.
be cool.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Before we jumped on to record, I said something like, "This is a pretty light episode. It's not going to get too
But
heavy."
then
And
brought in
here
a
we are, like,
psychologist, and we make everything complicated.
we're just like, everybody's on the verge of tears. I don't know. This
No,
is
it's
one of those moments when
yeah,
I'm really grateful for podcasting.
yeah,
And I was saying this in our text yesterday, that I've met so many
yeah.
wonderful, interesting, smart, thoughtful
Mhm.
people doing this, because I feel like the community that we have
Yeah,
around podcasts has been very self-selective, of people who want to be thoughtful about life
yeah.
and want to be respectful of other people's opinions. And
Mhm.
it's a really lovely community, and not everybody has that. I'm
No.
really grateful for it.
Yeah, me
And
too.
you two are great examples of wonderful people I've met
Us
through
3.
podcasting, and there are many more.
Ditto. Back at
Us
ya.
3. Yeah,
um and
it's
I know that maybe some people are like, just talk about the show, but when you share something so
yeah.
personal, like Becky just shared something so
Yeah.
personal, it it makes me feel so connected to
Mhm.
you. And what I love about these shows, about Buffy, about Angel, is that I've connected to people about these shows for years and years, like literally decades, like with
Mhm.
other fans. And I think the shows attract people who have had darkness in their lives,
Mhm.
and the reason they love Buffy so much is because she is constantly fighting against the rising
Hmm.
darkness,
Mm.
and we all need heroes like that to look up to.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what my point is. I'm
I
just
love
very
it.
moved right
No,
now.
no. I'm like it's I thank you for sharing and I get my own teary-eyed when I think about how like I wish my patients could see what I see in them. Sorry, I'm like I'll tear but it's true of I know jokes are made about people who go to therapy and everything and I can speak as a therapist, and I've worked with many, many therapists. We're in awe of our patients, and we think you guys are amazing. And the bravery to do this. Like I've never once sat in a session with a patient and judged them. Like it just doesn't happen. And like what I'm hearing is someone's bravery and being vulnerable because that's hard to do. And I've unfortunately lost patients who couldn't get there and just it's such a beautiful thing and I always feel very honored to sit with it and I always wish my patients could see themselves the way I see them and the same thing with my friends of like I see this amazing person in front of me like you were describing your dad Becky and I second what Penny said I'm like I have this vicious like all due respect he's your dad but like just this feeling of like how deluded and damaged is this person who hurt his child
Yeah.
and continue to do so and like I understand trauma and stuff and it does not excuse it and I know so many wonderful people who have done it and you are amazing you've done the work. And it's like, it's really like, I can't tell you how many therapists, it would be like over 100 that I've worked with, who are like, our patients aren't the problem. It's the world around our patients. Our patients want to feel better and be better, and they're amazing. It's everyone else. And I get teary-eyed because like, you guys are. And like, I know my therapist says it to me too, but I'm like, no, but not really. Of
Yeah.
like, you
It's
guys come with us on the journey, and we literally could do nothing if you guys weren't willing to be our teammates on it. And that's why it's so powerful. And it's just a wonderful thing that people can trust us so much, and do that, and find a better joy within themselves. It was always there, and your
yeah.
therapist helped you to rediscover what the world tried to bury in you. So I think that's pretty amazing, both of you. Like,
People who are mean to children, it it's indicative of, first of all, the fact that someone was mean to them when they were a
yes.
kid, but also just the deepest insecurity of all, where it's like,
Hmm.
I'm going to pick on somebody who literally has no defenses, right? Like a little kid. They can't leave. They don't have outside resources. They don't have money. They don't have experience.
Yeah.
They're trapped in the house with you. And it's the same way I feel about people who abuse pets.
Yep.
It's like, how pathetic and small
Yep.
of a human are you that you have to take out your bad
Yep.
emotions on like the most vulnerable person around you.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
Yeah,
vile.
I agree.
and we see this like playing out, and we see it systemically happening. Honestly, I see patients really putting in a lot of boundaries once they have kids, because they want to protect their
Yeah.
kids from those family members. And it's like, it wasn't okay for your kid, it wasn't okay for you. And the child in you,
But usually that's what it takes to
yeah,
motivate people.
and it's like the child in you wants the idea of who that parent was supposed to be. Like, I mean, in the show, like, I mean, I think it always makes me teary-eyed when I see Dennis's flashback. And I think that's why, like, it's stuck in my brain from, I think I was 15, 14 when I first watched it. He's helpless, and yes, she tied him up and did everything, but to the end, he was hoping she'd be better and she wouldn't do this. And he's like, Mom, I can't breathe. And it's like, yeah, we're attached to the ideas of who our parents should be and who we deserve, rather than who they are. And
Well, we're
yeah,
surrounded by so many messages in our
yeah,
culture of honor your parents, obey your parents,
yeah,
love your parents love you. And so you want to believe it.
yeah.
And little kids don't have the experience or the brain development to go, what's happening here isn't really about me.
No,
Right.
even
They didn't hit me till my 30s.
yeah, even adults don't.
Yeah, well, she says that
Exactly.
line that parent, this hurts me more than it hurts you. No, it doesn't. You
Oh,
just buried your
No, you're
yeah.
son
murdering
in a
him.
wall to suffocate. And
It's, yeah,
it was very satisfying
yeah,
that immediately after she clutched her heart and fell
yeah,
out.
yeah. I
Only
mean, she
Yeah,
was
she
never gonna let
deserved
him out of
that.
there. She was gonna kill him.
no, she hung the,
And yeah,
and
No.
that is the fastest stucco job I've ever seen in my entire life too.
I noticed that
Yeah.
too. And
Seriously, it
I was
takes
like,
like days to complete a
I'm
job
like,
like
did
that. But
evil
she
fuel her speed? I mean,
Something.
it looked really good. Like the wall looked
It was beautiful.
yeah.
professional.
Was it
Yeah, I
practice?
love that Cordy's like, I knew I didn't like that wall.
Yeah.
Like it's just her sense. The one thing that Cordy has is very strong sense of aesthetics,
Yes.
right? Like she makes things around her
Yeah.
look pretty.
Hmm.
And she knew that wall wasn't right in the architecture,
Yeah.
right? There was something about it that was like, that's got to go.
Yeah.
And I am like that about architecture too. I'm like, oh, this room needs to be rearranged.
Mhm.
The number of times I have rearranged furniture in a public place because I'm like, you've got this,
I
this
love
is
that.
all wrong.
Next time, we're
And
gonna videotape Penny doing that.
uh,
We're just
yeah,
gonna go
my
to the
family
local
has done
IKEA.
it. And a number of hospital waiting rooms where we're like, this is set up badly. We're just going to rearrange everything. And had people come out and be like, you can't do that. And
We
we're like,
just
we did
did.
it.
Yeah,
What do
well,
you
I mean,
think? How
we're
do you
gonna put me in
feel?
hospital
But and sometimes they're like, oh, this is better.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're
Right?
not
Like the way
designed
you
for
had it
comfort.
before, the chair was blocking the path and this thing was, and there was no natural light. We fixed all that stuff. You should thank us. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who have been like, ugh, that family. But
as long as you didn't
I
call them
can't
names.
stand
As long as you didn't
I
call them
can't stand
names.
it when I see something set up wrong. It's actually really funny. My place, my condo that I own has a couple of things that were decided by the previous owner about how things are structured that have been driving me crazy now for 13 years.
Is there a ghost in there? Maybe there's
Because,
someone buried in there.
well, I did do a Wiccan cleansing ceremony when I bought the place.
Smart.
Nice.
I had,
So you
I had
got rid of your
when it was
dentist.
empty. I don't think it would have been a dentist. The guy who lived here before was like, woohoo.
Oh.
Yeah, I had like 12 friends over and we did some chanting. We burned cedar, lemongrass,
Ooh, I
and
bet that smelled
sage.
good.
And we smudged the whole place and it got rid of the really bad mojo that was left by the previous owner. My friends were really funny. They came over and I was like, okay, here's the smudge sticks and here's the words for the chant. And they were like, you were serious about that? And I was like, 100%.
Yes.
They're like, oh, we thought that you were just like, come over and see my new place. Ha ha ha, we'll do a cleansing ceremony. And I'm like, no, there was no ha ha ha.
What's the downside
we're
to doing it, people? Like that's
Well, they all did it eventually. It just took a few minutes. Like they were all like, wait, we're actually doing this? I was like, yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah, there's legitimately no downside to do it. Whatever someone's like, we're gonna smudge or sage, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. There's no downside to
okay.
it. It's like
Yeah,
meditation.
you're not gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's squeaky clean.
Yeah. It was important to me to for the first place I ever owned, I was like, I want it to be like completely mine.
Yes.
So I got to get rid of all these ghosts or the bad. I called it bad juju. There was just a vibe that felt weird, and I was like, I just need it gone.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good job. And you haven't had
highly
hauntings.
recommend it. I have not had hauntings. Also, my niece put paint handprints all over my floor and stairs to guard me from monsters. And she pointed out that since I don't have any monsters, it is working.
Oh, that is the
Love
sweetest thing I've ever heard.
That is very cute. Okay, so we're gonna have to have Winnie
adorable.
do it in my apartment.
Yeah.
But that's
she's
adorable.
Yeah, she's protected me from monsters, and I appreciate it all the time.
That is
The handprints have been there now for 7 years. I am not going to ever paint
No.
Absolutely. It's guarding you. I mean, the minute you paint over them, you're gonna have poltergeist.
Yeah, monsters.
It's gonna be like the Evil
It's
Dead.
gonna be a monster problem. Yeah, Maud, that
Maud.
mean mom ghost.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
No.
Ugh.
I just also
I would take her down.
That's what also I was like, yeah, that just really wouldn't work with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I just because I was like, what would I do if Maud showed up like that and was trying to do that? Definitely call an exorcist.
I'd be like, I survived my own mean mom. Like, you aren't even remotely on her level.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Maud. You're too obvious.
You're
not manipulative enough.
You're too vanilla. You're like the light version.
You're not even a worthy villain.
You're like
for me.
the version of it, the LaCroix version of it. I probably
that's just LaCroix evil.
What is it people say? The Timu version.
LaCroix evil. Yeah.
She's the Timu version.
Timu version. I love it. Yeah. I'd probably start therapizing her and she'd leave.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. That's another good skit we could do for the internet. Is like just therapizing a ghost until they give up on one.
They would absolutely leave.
Bye.
Yeah, she'd be like, ugh, I don't want to talk about my trauma. Like, okay, who hurt you, Maud? And let's talk about why you feel the need to act this way towards other people. She'd be like, you can have it, I'm out.
It's your
I don't
apartment.
really like this place anyway. Bye.
Yeah. What about you, Becky? What would you do if Maud accidentally haunted your home?
I'd be calling Penny and be like, get over here with your
Who just
lemongrass and sage and chants, because I don't have time for this woman.
I
She
would
won't
help.
stop
I would
talking during my
definitely want to help
shows.
you. Yeah. During my shows. You're interrupting
Oh
my
my
shows.
gosh. Talk about someone who would love reality TV. I feel like Maud missed out. Evil
She
caused
would
her to
love to
have
feel
that heart
superior
attack.
to
Yep.
all
Yep.
those trashy
Oh, she
people.
would, 100%.
She'd be like, oh, this, I relate to them.
She probably calls a lot of them tramps.
Ah,
She probably
hussies.
refers to people. That's like a
Hussies.
hussy.
Yes, tarts,
Tarts.
yeah.
Tarts, as we discussed earlier.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, oh, she's a trip.
One thing that we haven't talked about that is not one of the major parts of the episode, but that I love, is the actual apartment hunt. And
Oh my God.
I clipped the whole.
Oh,
montage
good.
so we can listen to it.
That's amazing.
Well, I wish you'd just let me call my guy.
I'm not getting an apartment through some guy. He probably judges the property value and how far the bus ride is to the track.
Well, it can't get any worse than this, can it?
Can't tell anything from the hallway.
Hey, you're right. You know what I smell in here? Potential.
The next one will be better.
It's like a community, you know? We share all the upkeep and chores.
And my urination just hasn't been public enough lately.
Oh, we don't believe in barriers. It's the first rule of the great leader. You can come to meetings if you want. Every morning at 5.
Okay. That's just a touch too early for me.
Oh, you'll be up. The chanting starts at 4.
So, you a single gal? Gonna be living here alone? Because I'm right across the hall, and you could sleep easy knowing I'm the only other soul in the world with a key to that door. You think about that while you look, okay?
Okay, just out of curiosity, you say you know a guy.
Finally. What is it with you and Angel? You gotta do everything the hard way.
That's so funny.
That second guy, oh God, he made my skin
The cult
crawl.
guy? Oh my God.
Oh my god.
It's so funny because I remember looking for apartments in New York City when I was going to law school in 1998. And the things that I saw, like the apartments I visited where they were like, oh, you're not allowed to have any guests over. And you have to be naked. And I'd be like, I'm out. Bye-bye.
What?
Like, people would just say like really weird stuff. They'd be like, no eating after 6 p.m. in the apartment. What? Like, okay, that one's not an
How
option.
do you monitor that? Like what?
That's where
Like-
I would be like, yeah, there's. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
I'm out of here.
no.
I saw a bunch of apartments that were like overpriced with sketchy potential roommates and like bathtubs in the kitchen, all that stuff. I finally found an apartment in Brooklyn with another law student who was only mildly psychotic, so it worked out. But oh God, the apartment search was terrifying. Just like nonstop, gross, roachy, like falling apart places with like skeevy, weird dudes who like want you to be their like live-in girlfriend.
Ew.
It was gross. They'd be like, "Do you have a lot of single girlfriends that'll be coming over?" Like,
It's like Joey
Ew.
from Friends.
yeah, when he wanted Elle McPherson to be his roommate.
And then he gets a
Ugh.
supermodel. Yeah, I haven't had those experiences, and thank you for reminding me that it could be worse. I've mostly had crazy roommates. But they weren't like that. And mostly just a lot of cigarette smoke, weed smoke, and or noise issues. Like I'm a really light sleeper. So like obviously I will always wait until quiet hours. I mean, that's just how it goes, and I would never care if it was like I'm taking a nap. It's like, yeah, I mean everyone's allowed to use their music or whatever. But yeah, no blasting Celine Dion at 1 a.m. please. But yeah, like it's not great. Like I think I was telling Penny and Kara this of my last apartment, and they had, I don't know what happened to this day. I don't know what my upstairs neighbor was doing, because I couldn't figure out how to have a conversation with them about it, because I've never met them. But at least twice a month, between the times of 1 and 4 a.m., they would smack down, and it sounded like someone fell out of bed.
Oh my
I mean,
god.
Maybe they.
yeah, like honestly, it kind of sounded like someone died when I first heard it. I was like, I don't know what to do. But then it kept happening. So either they were a ghost, that it was only like twice a month. It wasn't all the time, and it just would always startle me out of sleep, and then it would be silence. So it was always like the weirdest thing, and I had no idea
so
how to
weird.
breach that conversation of like, do you almost die twice a month between 1 and 4? Because it sounds like you hit this floor real hard. Like not even like you jumped. Like it's like you jumped from the bed to the floor. No. Something sounds like something bad happened, but then there's silence.
Wow.
Yeah.
So but
My current upstairs neighbors make a lot of weird noises that I can't recognize. And there are nights when Pixel and I are sitting on the couch, both of us looking at what are they doing up there?
Yes.
And I keep being like, I should just go up and knock on the door and be like, what are you doing? But I'm already in my pajamas, so
Yeah.
I'll do it next time. One of these days I'll go up there and be like, what's the rolling sound?
Oh,
What is
yeah,
that
I
all
have heard that
about?
before too. I wonder if that's someone's exercise equipment, because it sounds repetitive. It sounds
Maybe.
like which is super helpful for a podcast. But like,
I had an upstairs neighbor in a dorm one time, and there was this god awful booming noise coming into
Yikes.
my dorm room. And so I called and I was like, "Hi, I'm your downstairs neighbor. What are you doing? Are you doing something that's going to make like a booming noise?" And he's like, "No, I'm just playing my drum kit." I was like,
what noise does
that's
it
the noise.
make? Did he think it was like old school Batman? Like pow. like what did he think you were describing?
I was like, that sounds like what the noise is that's so loud and annoying. And he was like, "Oh, I didn't think you could hear it." I'm like, it's really loud. Like, what?
What do you mean I didn't think you could hear it? I have ears and you're not that far away.
Yeah. Oh my
I will say
God.
one of my
That's
favorite
part of adult life
Oh, yeah.
is
It's pretty normal. Like one of my favorite things, and I don't think I shared this on the podcast, but one of my first apartments here was actually the same building with the loud noise in the middle of the night occasionally. It was a new building, and for some reason when they built in the fire alarm system, they made it super sensitive, so that every time it rained, the
oh.
fire alarm would go off, to the
Oh.
point that it was going off several times a month, to the point where no one started evacuating and again, like the fire truck showed up. This wasn't a drill. We would stop going outside, and I remember one time I had to take a patient session, so I grabbed my laptop and my cat, and I went into my car in the garage with like, okay, I'll run if there's smoke. And I was just there doing the session, because it's not really a good idea to talk about trauma with blaring alarms in the background. So I was able to get like, it's just no one's having a good time. And I remember being in my car in the parking garage of the fire alarm building, and the firefighters just waved at me as they walked past. They were like, yep. Like they were like, yep, no, this isn't, that's fine.
Yeah.
Any bad places for you, Becky?
How about you? Do you have any like crazy apartment stories or real estate stories?
It sounds like it.
Honestly, I've been pretty lucky in the roommate department, but the most annoying is when I first moved out of my mom's house and going to college, we lived in an apartment, me and my best friend, and she had a bit of I'm not, we were both dramatic individuals, but she was absolutely in love with this guy who we've been trying to tell her for 2 years was gay.
Mm.
And
Oh.
2 years.
he finally shut her down, and I'm not kidding, for 48 hours stayed locked in her room blaring Michael Jackson's "You Are Not Alone."
Oh God.
And I am when I hear that song to this day, I am triggered. I mean, I haven't, roommate wise, haven't had a lot of crazy. And where we live now, we live in like a mother-in-law style house behind the person we rent from. So it's quiet and it's pretty cool. We've had a few weird neighbors, but we just don't look that way and try to avoid seeing the cops will show up and you're like, what's going on over there, but you really don't want to know what's going on over there kind of situation. But I've been pretty fortunate in that respect.
You're just sweeping the grass. You're like, what's going on?
Vacuuming the grass.
Like, oh, what's going on? That's what I would do. just raking the driveway. Huh? What's going on over here? That's very funny.
Well, I think we have done enough damage to this episode.
We really have. Sorry, everyone.
Let's move on to some pop, not so pop culture references.
All right. Yes. So Cordelia listens to the song "You Always Hurt the Ones You Love" by the Mills Brothers in her apartment.
Oh, just like the mom was hurting her son.
I wonder if she was sort of picking up on that. Doyle says, what about friendship and family and all those things that are priceless, like they say in that credit card commercial? This is a reference to MasterCard adverts.
Yeah, right around this time, MasterCard's advertising campaign was like, 2 tickets to visit grandma, $600, spending time with grandma, priceless.
Yes.
For them.
There was a whole series of ads like that. Yeah. Cordelia frets about losing a part to a woman who, quote, looked like Catwoman taking out the cat trash.
I love Doyle trying to help her feel better, but him being like, this is not your niche, Cordy.
Yeah, he's like, no. Yeah. And he squicked me out a little bit. Like, you can see like the JW in there when he's talking to Angel and he's like, he helped Cordy find this apartment. He's like, yeah, she's gonna be real grateful for a long time. I'm like, ew.
Oh yeah.
Ew.
There's Doyle's fascination with Cordelia. Like, I want to find it cute that he likes her, but he says and does things sometimes that are like when he's like, oh, if you ever need a place to stay, you could come to my apartment. Like,
yeah,
it's so clear that he's being sort of skeevy about it.
It's JW.
And Cordy obviously picks up on it right away. But yeah,
Doyle,
outdated.
Yeah, Doyle, your JW is leaking.
I am so going to use that on people, and they're going to have no idea what I mean. Thank you so much for that, Sam. That's beautiful. So, next up, Angel compares the Cordettes to the Soviet secret police if they cared a lot about shoes. That was a good one.
That was
a good line.
Cordelia calls the ghost in her apartment Casper, the friendly ghost character.
Oh, Dennis is friendly.
Yes.
Yeah, Dennis is kind of a Casper. Yes. Except Casper's like a dead 3-year-old. That's the creepy thing about Casper the ghost.
Yeah.
Oh.
They tried to make it romantic too. It got real weird real fast.
Yeah. Cordelia describes her apartment's smell as the smell of old lady, love violets and Aspercream, and Aspercream is a brand of pain relief, like for if you have arthritis or something.
Cordelia says, old lady. Oh, thanks for this one. Cordelia says, old lady ghost. How come Patrick Swayze's never dead when you need him? A reference to the actor's title role in the 1990 film Ghost. And
that didn't age
this
well.
did not age well based on Patrick Swayze actually being gone. But
yeah, like
although
9 years later.
he is the ghost I would prefer to that old lady.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Nah, Patrick
Absolutely.
Swayze, if he wants to come watercolor with me.
Yeah.
I'm down.
I love it. Come paint with you, ladies.
Right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Cordelia calls Maud Polygrip, a brand of denture adhesives.
Okay, I have a quick funny story about Polygrip. So I had this crown.
Awesome.
I had this crown that, and they put a temporary crown on, and it kept like the temporary crown kept coming off, and I kept having to go back to the dentist to get it fixed until the new one came in. So one day it's like, just get Polygrip and use it to keep the crown on until the new one comes in. So I did, but one night I was in a bowling league with some friends that our company we used to work for, and one night we're bowling and we're having the best time, and I said something and the crown went flying out of my mouth and landed on my friend Mike's hand, and he's just looking at it, and I'm like, the Polygrip is not working. And it was a whole thing. So anytime I see any denture commercial, I just think of that stupid temporary crown that would not stay on.
That's
amazing. I love the idea that your friends are like, oh gosh, she's
your tooth is on my hand right now. I'm just like, don't flick it. I'm not paying for another one.
It's like, are you okay, Becky? Your bones are falling out.
Yeah, it's usually not a good sign when someone's teeth just like fall out of their mouth.
Right? It's like one of those bad dreams you have.
I've watched a lot of Supernatural, and people losing teeth on that show always means witchcraft.
Yes, absolutely. If it ever happens again, you can always like run the because I made this joke to my dentist when I also had a crown put on. When he was taking out my tooth and like putting in the crown, I'm like, that's so my human teeth will go back in, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, what other teeth would you have? And I was like, the other teeth. I'm like, I'm joking, Doc.
It is amazing.
Oh, I wish I could be a fly in the wall for that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I always try to use humor, like, and so I'm like, the other teeth that come in. And I was like a fully grown adult.
He's looking at his dental assistant. I'm gonna need to see her childhood dental record stat.
I know. Yeah.
Also, that's enough of the laughing gas.
Yeah.
You think we're on it right now?
Yeah, we've been laughing a lot.
So I do have a quick joke. Well, not really a joke, but it's sort of the laughing gas reminded me, and I don't think there's going to be another story where this would be relevant. I went to, I was having my wisdom teeth pulled when I was like not old enough to be telling this joke to my dentist, but like 12 or 13, so kind of around like this season of Angel, and they had to like give you laughing gas. They had to knock me out because they had to crack my jaw to get in there to remove them. So I'm really nervous, never been sedated, all that stuff. Everything goes fine. And then I come back to have the stitches removed because yes, that's how old I am. They didn't have dissolvable stitches back then. And so I come back in and the nurse is like, you told us the funniest joke when you were here last time. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, oh my gosh, we were cracking up. I have no memory of this. And so I was like, what joke did I tell you? And she's like, you told us the joke about the guy with $100 bill on his privates, and I was like, I was like, don't tell my mom.
I told you a genital related joke.
To my dentist and the nurse and the hygiene, like the nurses there. So I don't know if we would just bleep it. I mean, it's not that bad, but like not something a 12, 13-year-old should be telling their medical team, no matter how high they are.
Hilarious.
A guy, I still remember it because I'm still embarrassed that it happened. A guy goes into a tattoo parlor wanting $100 bill tattooed on his privates. And the tattoo artist goes, okay, but you have to tell me why. And the guy goes, it's threefold. 1, I like to play with my money. 2, I like to watch my money grow. And 3, when my wife wants to blow $100, she can do it at home.
Oh,
and that's 12-year-old me told my adult healthcare team. I don't know why. I don't know what prompted that. I was not in a joke-telling mind frame. So
yeah,
that just reminded me, totally tangential, but yes. Like, I don't know when that's going to be relevant in our podcasting again.
Well, this will be a come down. Cordelia talks about knowing celebrities such as actor Steve Paymer, who is brother of the actor David Paymer and has appeared in shows such as Will and Grace, Heart of Dixie, The Big Bang Theory, and Boston Common.
Very cool.
That wraps up the pop and not pop culture references, and we're moving on to trivia.
Writer Jane Espenson intended the episode's title to match the format of a classified ad. She also considered release as a possible title. I like the one that she went with.
Yeah,
great.
but release is funny too.
Yeah,
I like it.
Oh, I just got that. Release. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good.
It's clever in there. Jane knew what it was about. But that's okay. It took me a while to realize what Room with a View meant. Like, I was looking at the episode title, I'm like, Room with a View? It's like a vanity plate. So, all good. The episode is really all about Cordelia regaining her inner bitch, says supervising producer Tim Minier. Yeah, Tim, maybe you should have had another member of the team say that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not so great.
Regarding Angel's shower scene, Jane Espenson said, I put that scene in there because, frankly, I knew there wouldn't be a woman on the planet who wouldn't enjoy seeing David Boreanaz shirtless and dripping wet.
God bless you, Jane Espenson.
Yeah,
appreciate.
She's right. We all enjoyed that.
We all do. Absolutely.
Charisma Carpenter lists this episode as one of her personal favorites, and I completely agree. Mine too.
Yeah, it's a great episode for her.
Yeah, for sure.
I get it.
So cool. So cool. Cordelia's friend Aura, who she speaks to on the phone in this episode, is first seen in the series premiere of Buffy, Welcome to the Hellmouth, in which the Buffyverse's first dead body, a boy bitten and drained by Darla, falls out of her gym locker. Aura is mentioned again in Prophecy Girl. That's cool. I had no memory of this.
I have no memory of that either, but that's fine.
Becky has the good memory. We're like, I don't remember.
That is only because Prime Video has a Buffy the Vampire Slayer channel, and I keep it on a lot in the background working, and that it cycles through the entire series and then cycles back, and that just happened to be one I saw when I walked past the TV. It is not because I remember.
Repetition. I like it.
I think I know the answers to this question. But does it still slay? Becky?
Yes, 100% yes.
Sam?
I second that. Absolutely.
Yeah. This episode has always been one of my favorites, especially in Angel season 1, which I think is pretty uneven. This is like a high water mark. It's funny, has action, has character development, like shirtless David Boreanaz. Like, what is not to love?
Yeah.
I gotta say, I've been watching a lot of Bones lately, and going from an episode of Angel to an episode of Bones is such a mind trip. It's like, wait, he's the same, but he's not the same. It's
Yeah. It looks the same, but
very
it's his other twin, his evil twin, who sometimes does
yeah.
good things. Or
He's
the
in the daylight. No,
Yeah.
don't go in the daylight. Oh wait, he's human now.
This one's okay to go. This one smiles. This one does not.
Yeah. Exactly. We do have just a small amount of news about the Buffyverse. Sadly, Michelle Trachtenberg, this came out today. She died yesterday, I think, at the age of 39 due to complications related to a liver transplant. I don't know why she needed a liver transplant at such a young age, but
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say when somebody dies so young. It's just tragic.
Yeah.
And a lot of, former castmates of hers from Buffy, from Gossip Girl, from Harriet the Spy, have been, posting on social media all day, memories of her, photos of her, and the sort of prevailing opinion that I gleaned was that she was like sunny and light on
Yeah.
on set. She was like fun to have around, kind, sweet, just kind of like you would expect from watching her as Dawn.
Yeah.
For any listeners who have never seen the shows before, Michelle Trachtenberg joins the cast of Buffy in season 5. So we haven't gotten there yet on the podcast, but she becomes a very important character in the later seasons.
She was also this past within the last 6 months, I did a rewatch of 6 Feet Under. And she played.
She was on
She
6
was
Feet Under?
Celeste, the one that David's husband was the bodyguard
Oh
for.
yeah. The body,
Oh,
the
that's
the
right.
celebrity, yeah,
I forgot about
that
that.
too. Yeah, she was, like you said, like Harriet the Spy. She was in Gossip Girl. From the reports are still new, so there's going to be a lot of stuff out there. But she was found by her mom, unfortunately, around 8 a.m. this morning on Wednesday at the age of 39 in her New York City apartment. They, like Penny was saying, they don't suspect foul play. They believe it's most likely a complication from her liver transplant earlier that year, which is unusual. They are going to have an autopsy to determine cause and manner of death, but it would make sense too, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just a really, really sad thing of just a suddenness and just a loss, I think, for family, friends, and us as fans. whenever
Yeah.
whenever I think about celebrities who pass away and the sadness I feel, it's the humanness in us, obviously, and it's also like, yes, we don't know them personally, we know what their characters represented to us and how that impacted our life, and I think that's what really gets to the heart of it. I know there's a documentary out about Matthew Perry's passing, and it's this outpouring of grief, and it's because of what they meant to us and what they continue to. And speaking of which, Sarah Michelle Gellar has spoken up about this and said that in regards to Michelle Trachtenberg and the reboot, spinoff, whatever this new phase of Buffy project is, she goes, "This one's for you." So
that's sweet.
yeah, it's
I was hoping they were going to bring her back and have her play Dawn again.
Absolutely.
And this just breaks my heart. And, whenever someone dies so young, it's just, it feels incomprehensible.
Absolutely.
The best thing we can do is love the people we love with the time that we have with them.
Yeah.
And you never know.
Never know. That is a little bit of the radical acceptance I use. Speaking of like therapy, I use it on myself too. A little bit of YOLO of like, nothing's promised to us. Like, knock on wood, we could walk outside tomorrow and get hit by a bus. No one's promised anything.
Yeah.
So, live your life, love the people that you love, let them know, that kind of stuff. Because it's important.
It is. Speaking of people that we love, I'm a little thirsty. Do you guys want to go to the Bronx and talk to some listeners?
That would
I
be
thought
awesome.
you were going to say blood, and I was very confused. That's where
No,
my
the bronze,
brain is
the bronze.
going. Yes, please. Drinks at the bronze.
Bronze things. Things of bronze.
All right. Well, from Facebook, Randy says, I love the roommate relationship Cordelia develops with Dennis over the series. Out of the Scooby Gang, I would have voted Cordelia least likely to be incredibly chill with having a haunted hotel. That's true.
Same. Yeah, same.
It's interesting that Dennis is usually a comedic character considering his story is so dark. The image of him being bricked up in the wall has always stuck with me, partly because it's in the intro.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
repetition.
It is.
Yeah, that's great points.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we got an email from Coffee and Vodka. Greetings, spectral slayers. First of all, ghost movie pop culture reference aside, Cordelia wishing for Patrick Swayze's demise a decade before his death at 57, the same age as Mrs. Maud Pearson, the ghost in her rental, was kind of uncanny. Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that.
That is crazy.
That is weird.
Beyond this, an ep which started slow but swiftly built up in speed and menace until its Act 3 climax. A good and proper, well-plotted ghost story, complete with inciting incident and vengeful solution. So, good. He gave it 4 submissive spirits, deadbeat Doyles, and blown deposits out of 5. Peace and take care, Coffee and Vodka. Awesome as usual.
As always.
Fantastic.
I love your rating systems.
Yes. He's so creative.
Hi, Coffee and Vodka. I heard your feedback on the podcast that they did on the Penguin, and I loved your sign off name.
Oh,
and,
TV podcast
yes,
industries.
thank you. That I was trying to get there in my head. So I loved your feedback. I love that show, and it was always fun to hear your thoughts. So hello, just want to say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had first heard of, outside of the Still Slaying podcast, I had heard Coffee and Vodka's awesome feedback for the boys, for podcast industries too, which I listen to a lot. So yeah,
Yeah.
I always really liked his thoughts too.
Yeah. I love the rating system the most. I think it's really
Yeah.
clever, and it's such a nice personal
Yes.
touch that he adds.
Love
It's
it.
great. We have, speaking of somebody with their own personal
Yes.
style, we have a voicemail from Steve.
Hello, Still Slaying. This is Steve, and I am about to watch Angel, season 1, episode, I don't know what number it is, Room with a View. Cordelia, the phone's ringing, but I love Charisma Carpenter so much. When she's doing bad acting, it's great. Did Cordy have Cordettes at the end of the series, the season when she... But, yeah, that she lost it all, according to Angel. Doyle comes home to a ringing phone and a demon in his house apartment. Cordelia is great. Angel's standing there literally in a towel, and she's going on about her bags, and she's going to stay there for quite a while. What is the necklace that Angel is wearing around his neck? What is on that? It's not a cross. It's I don't know. Did Cordelia get the peanut butter on the bed, or is that from when Angel was with Buffy a few episodes ago?
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, and Angel just does not catch the social cues. Hey, there's a big guy here looking for you, Doyle. Oh, it was a trick. I get it. And my urination just has not been public enough lately. Yeah, I'm holed up snowed in for the next couple of days here, so I'm going to get ahead of the game with some of these episodes, I think. But this one, I love this episode of Angel. Creepy community to creeper apartment manager. This place is amazing, Cordelia, I can tell. Oh, and the previous tenant just broke the lease a week ago. Yeah, it's not creepy, not sinister at all. Oh, but there's something in the wall that Cordelia wants to take down. A face. Yeah, Cordelia doesn't look grateful at the moment, Doyle. discovered there's a ghost in this house. Nothing bad here, except the old woman in the mirror. And Cordelia speaks to the audience. Wait, didn't have a place when I invited you in. These rules are all screwed up. A retroactive invitation is valid. Or vampires in this universe. Okay, we gotta try to put the ghost to rest. Oh, Cordy, working for redemption. Oh, I'm choked up. Listen to her talk about the punishment and the punishment ending. Oh, good old ghost reference from Patrick Swayze. Is Angel in the bedroom? Oh, I remember now. Ghosts can do impressions. Oh, the foreshadowing, the kind of killer that makes it look like a suicide. But that's for spoilers. Oh, okay, they got there in time, and she's just barely choking, but this woman played on Kelia's, what do they call it? Yeah, self-consciousness. Oh, come on, Cordelia. Get up and be the B word you are. Oh, the demon brigade. Oh, and the ghost doesn't like the demons being there either. Oh, there's the look. I'm a bee? Cry, Buffy. Yeah, well, she pissed me off. Oh, and they found Dennis. I have a roommate, but I never see him. Phantom Dennis, put that back. Great episode.
Awesome.
Thanks, Steve.
Awesome.
I love the love, Steve.
I love his
He's
messages.
so
He's
awesome.
great.
And I appreciated you not calling Cordelia a bitch and saying the B word.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Steve. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
we said it a lot in this episode, so I hope people are okay with that word. And I know I said a swear word earlier. I'll have to bleep that out.
I can't wait to see what word you choose.
Yeah, I got to think about that.
Oh.
All right. That's the end of the main section of the podcast. Stay tuned for the Watcher's Diaries if you want to hear the spoilery discussion.
If you'd like to join the conversation, you can find all of our contact information at podcastica.com and in the show notes of each episode.
Also at podcastica.com, you'll find our social media pages and all of our other shows. Right now, I am obsessed with White Lotus.
Mm-hmm.
I am loving White Lotus. It's so funny, and the Welcome to the White Lotus podcast is really great.
Mm-hmm.
They have great chemistry on there. They always make me laugh.
Yes.
What are you guys listening to?
Well, I am obsessed with Yellow Jackets, obviously, so I'm thoroughly enjoying your all's Yellow Jackets podcast.
Thank you.
And if I can mention my podcast one more time, what's on tonight, where we're covering the amazing show, The Pit.
Mm-hmm.
So check that out as well.
Awesome.
And I have listened to Adrenaline Cinema podcasts. They covered The Gorge, which is a movie on Apple TV. Yeah, they did a fantastic job as usual. And Run for Your Lives just covered Nosferatu, and that was a fantastic episode. I thought they did such a great job with going into a nuance of a very popular and yet complex film. Yeah,
It's a great movie.
I haven't seen it yet, so I haven't listened to that episode yet, but I loved their episode on The Substance. That was great.
Yes. Yeah, it's very similar. Like, it was wonderful. And if you like what we do, give us a 5-star rating, a review, or a like. Follow and subscribe. Next time, we'll be covering Angel, Season 1, Episode 6, Sense and Sensitivity. Thanks, everyone, and...
I am not giving up this apartment.
It's haunted.
It's rent-controlled.
All right, that's the end of the non-spoiler section. And if you want to avoid spoilers, this is the time. Just stop listening. Give you a couple seconds. Get your phone out. Stop listening. Okay, on to the Watcher's Diaries. We can spoil anything we want now.
It's too bad we can't sneak a look at the Watcher Diaries and read up on Angel. I'm sure it's full of fun facts to know and tell.
Yeah. That's too bad. That stuff is private.
Also, Giles keeps them in his office, in his personal files.
Most importantly, it would be wrong.
The bitch thing comes back. There's a scene when Lila has been tortured by, there's this like horrible like half demon guy who like makes men attack women, and Lila gets beat up, and Cordelia approaches her and is like, "You're a vicious bitch. I'm a vicious bitch. I know what that means. Like, basically saying like, stand in your power, be powerful, and Lila ends up taking out that demon, and it's incredibly satisfying. Even though
Yeah.
Oh,
Cordy
cool.
and Lila, like, they're not friends, they're not bonded, but they do have this thing in common that they are both these incredibly powerful women who have probably been called a bitch many, many times in their life.
Yeah, I love that.
I've always loved that episode and that scene. I think it's an amazing episode.
Yeah,
Very cool.
it kind of reminds me of our long lost RIP TV show that still lives in my brain, the Amazon Prime show The Power, where women gained
Oh, yeah.
the supernatural abilities for self-defense.
That was a good show.
It just is not coming back. It was canceled or in limbo.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
not?
no, it was
Yeah.
I know
Oh,
it was
man.
supposed to be, and then it's just been in limbo. It's just they've moved on to other projects now. So hopefully, maybe in the future. Definitely not right now. But yeah, it reminds me of, in that show, it was the younger girls and young women who could activate this power in the adult women around them and the older women that were there, like reminding them of how amazing they are, reawakening that power in them. So that just whenever that reminds me of the Cordy and Lila scene of like, remember the power of being a bitch. Like, this is our power. Step back into it, and she does, and she wins.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I loved The Power. I'm sad
Awesome.
that it's not coming back.
I
It was
know.
really good.
I know. So,
And it did something that I hope the new Buffy, whatever, reboot,
mm-hmm.
revision, whatever that is, deals with, which is they had a character who was intersex,
Yes.
who was masculine presenting, but had the power
Mhm.
because they had enough female
Mhm.
for it to activate whatever the science,
Yeah, I can't remember
quote,
either.
science,
Yeah.
unquote, is. And I always have thought about, like, are there slayers who are intersex or trans? Like,
Absolutely.
does the slayer magic extend to, women or girls, I guess it's always girls,
Mhm.
who are not, within the narrowest
Yeah.
definition of female?
Good
And
point.
how much fun would it be for there to be some characters like that in the new show?
That
That'd
sounds
be great.
awesome. Yeah, that would be amazing.
That would
And
be
very
very
in line
cool.
with Buffy. You
Yeah.
don't make a show
Yeah.
about
It would fit.
you don't make a show about JW has been very forward about, I wanted to make a show where the blonde actually fights back and wins, because she was always killed and tormented and tortured, which oof.
Or had to be rescued by some dude. Yeah.
Yes. And so, like, the whole spirit and essence of the show is empowering people who are typically disempowered in our society, and that would be amazing to see, and really the next level. So doing what Buffy did in the late 90s, early 2000s for the 2025s, although having female heroine might be a good idea nowadays too.
Yeah.
For real.
Well, I
We need
don't
it.
want the main character to necessarily be
Oh yeah.
yeah, but
Having all the
I
representation would be amazing. I like that idea.
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we're done.
Mhm.
What do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the stuff with Doyle develops later on. I feel like we really didn't get much of a hint at it. Like, they kind of kept it a
Yeah.
secret until later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, there's the episode The Bachelor Party
Yes.
is going to be very illuminating
Yes.
about Doyle, and then of course Hero
Mhm.
is a major one for
Faves.
him.
Makes me cry every time.
And
I'm happy to come back for any Doyle centric episodes that you guys
okay.
might want. I'm happy to come on for any episode. So you guys just call me and I'll be there. But I definitely love the Doyle
Awesome.
centric episodes
Yes,
this
come.
season.
Thank you,
Yep.
Becky. We will definitely have you
Yeah,
back on.
absolutely.
Because this has been
That'd be great.
delightful.
Come on to the Hero episode. You can watch me cry again.
No. We'll cry together. How's that?
That will be adorable, and I will take photos of it.
They'll be very artistic photos. They'll be very
Yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. screenshots of the Zoom screen.
Oh my
very
gosh, we
attractive.
should totally do that on the episodes we know we're gonna cry.
I think so.
Especially for
Yeah.
a future Buffy episode. I think everyone will be crying at.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's,
gosh.
yeah.
Yep,
Let's not think about that
yep.
right now. Okay.
Stay hydrated.
All right. That's the complete end of our show. Thanks everybody for listening. And until next time, I'm Penny.
I'm Becky, and your JW is leaking.
And I'm Sam. And that's Loki in the background meowing.
Keep slaying.